Hello everyone, I'm Medic. This is Vedius over here.
Hi everyone.
It seems like the fans are really predicting a Mad Lions
Does
win
seem
here,
like that way, but
yeah.
Medic, I must say, that weight loss, it's really starting to come
Thank you, man.
through.
It's really kind of
Loving
you.
the tattoo as well.
I got a heart because I'm a doctor.
That does make sense.
I quite like your fashion sense, a little bit warm
thank you, man.
for me, the scarf.
Yeah, I mean, I'm feeling it though. It's a little chilly in the studio today.
Good place.
But I'm excited. Mad
Super
versus
excited,
Rogue. How can we not be? This is going to be a great day.
It's going to be an incredible day.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen.
we didn't work out how long we were going to do that for. I'm actually going to keep hugging my bet.
I was really hoping Kevin would just be in our ear and be like, stop.
Hey,
but Kevin was like,
please finish.
Keep going.
We'll put you over here.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen.
Hello,
we are here for Mad vs. Rogue. We're having a bit of fun because, of course, it has been a long and intense playoff series, and this is the final day of round 2. One of these two teams will be going up against G2 Esports next week in the semi-final after what was a thrilling game or series yesterday between G2 and Fnatic.
Honestly, I think I'm still in shock. It was 274 days between the last time Fnatic beat G2 and yesterday, and it's so strange to see Fnatic sitting in the winner in the finals already, and one of these teams has the chance to face them. Of course, it's kind of reminiscent of spring when it was Mad Lions versus G2 in the semi-final. I'm sure Mad Lions will be hoping to get there once again, but Rogue currently stand in their way. Rogue are first place team in the regular season, and Betty, I must remind you, of the 15 LEC titles that have been won so far, the team that placed first in the regular season has won 11 of them. 73% of the time, our best team in the regular season ends up being the best team in the split.
So what you're saying is Rogue's odds are looking pretty good right now.
I see, odds implies their form has stayed the same. And I think, although Fnatic now look like a much better team than they did when they played against Rogue last week,
isn't that where the controversy around Rogue comes from? In that their form has stayed the same, and that's what made them so exploitable against Fnatic and why they were punished. And I think that's what so many fans are going to be looking at in today's series, because Rogue will be a representative at the World Championship this year, and after they were handily defeated by Fnatic, expectations are, how will Rogue stack up on the international stage? Are we really sending a good representative to the international competition this year? And I believe that we are, but let's see if Rogue can prove it today. Mad Lions are hungry. They want to get top 3 again, seeding for Worlds implications, of course, and still a chance to fight for that LEC crown. We're going to see who comes out on top. We've already got the bans coming in thick and fast, man.
And I love this from Rogue. They say, okay, Shadow's played 4 games of Lilia in the playoffs. Let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of Humanoid's possibility of having that first pick at Kali, remove the Hecarim, and put Shadow back onto something like the Lucian, onto something like the set, something that you know a little bit more. And immediately, Rogue, they've learned from last week.
No Gangplank first pick this time.
Larssen is going to get Nemesis's Lucian in the mid lane, probably.
The Gangplank, of course, being banned out, but this does mean that the Lucian going to be locked in. I'm excited to see where this goes. We've been seeing a lot of it in solo lanes over in the East. We also saw it in North America last night between Cloud9 and TSM. And I still think it can be playing the bot lane. Hansama used to be a big Lucian player, and I think that when you pair it up with Yuumi specifically, it can be a very potent 2 versus 2.
Of course, we first saw it when Rogue were demolished by Fnatic last week. Nemesis playing against Larssen in the mid lane. Ashe, still an incredibly strong AD carry. Carzzy's played it 4 times in the playoffs, has won 3 of those games. And Mad Lions looking to team it up with, you'd expect a support here. The Nautilus, a very powerful pick alongside the Ashe. Could go for a roaming mid, though, for Humanoid. The deck may play out in their favor as they lock in Twisted Fate.
Interesting. Again, we saw a pretty impressive Twisted Fate last night from Bjergs. We'll see if Humanoid can replicate that level of performance. I think that it's a very powerful early game champion, not necessarily for laning, but the moment he hits level 6, as Medic was saying, you can look to impact the rest of the map. And when you pair that up with an Ashe Arrow as well, you're already seeing a lot of pick potential come out from this Mad Lions squad. The Evelynn hover, we heard the Analyst devs talking about it. We will get to see inspired on a carry jungler. Rogue definitely shaking things up here in Game 1, Medic.
I mean, the crazy thing is, Rogue actually had the least unique champions of any team during the regular season, and they have already locked in 3 champions. They did 2 champions they didn't play at all in the regular season. So that question of draft adaptability, that question of bringing new things to the table for Rogue seems to be being answered in Game 1. Of course, they still have to pilot these champions well. They still have to be effective on them. But with the Lucian, the Eve, and the Senna locked in, I think we can solidly say Rogue are bringing something new to the table.
Yes, they certainly are. Well, I'm excited, that's for sure. as we move into the second phase, let's have a look at some of the things that both these teams need. Well, support is going to be the priority. Remember that Mad Lions do get first pick of support, so they may consider banning out some potential counters, things like a Leona, perhaps, and then they look to prioritize something like the Nautilus for themselves, get a weaker matchup for that Senna. They could also think about banning Tahm Kench, but it looks like they're going to focus on banning out some of the counter top lane champions that Orome could struggle against.
I actually really like this because when Rogue played against Fnatic last week, Finn was a clear weak point. He died 3 times on average at the 15-minute mark. He was dived on by Fnatic over and over again. And so here, pick the Camille, give yourself a strong pick in the top lane, get rid of some of the powerful picks into it, and put Finn on something where he is near useless.
Looks like that is the game plan and strategy for Mad Lions. Meanwhile, Rogue looking to take out some of the junglers. Graves going to be the first one off the board. Will they take out the Kindred? I think that we've been seeing a lot of this over in the LPL. Nidalee is another one that has been rising in popularity. Ooh, I actually love that Lulu ban because remember that Evelynn, all about the execution. All assassins, they hate playing against Lulu players. The whimsy, the ultimate that provides that additional HP, all very valuable. But hey, Mad Lions, Shadow, of course, one of the best Lee Sin players, if not the best Lee Sin player that we have here in Europe. And of course, they're just going to lock that one in.
So I'm thinking about options for that support pick, and one that comes to mind, perhaps because I watched a lot of TSM yesterday, Zilean. Zilean support can actually work really well into the Eve because you just chuck the Chrono Shift onto your AD carry whenever he gets dived on. Could do something similar to that Lulu. We'll see if Mad Lions decide to go towards it. Rogue, though, getting rid of another strong pick into Eve by taking the Tahm Kench themselves and then getting a strong tank in the top lane. Once again, Finn, his job is to influence team fights, not really win out his lane.
Yeah, it looks like that. So I think that Rogue, they changed some things, but they didn't change everything. The first 2 picks, I was like, okay, Rogue, we're seeing a different shape, we're seeing a different style to them. But nope, we're still going to get the Ornn, we're still going to get a Tahm Kench. This is still very Rogue right now, very traditional front to back. The craziest thing is going to be how this Evelynn plays out in fights, where they're able to find these executions. I'm surprised Mad Lions decided to go for the Thresh. I think that Tahm Kench is a great matchup into the Thresh because of the protection that it can provide. I mean, I'm also just really surprised that they didn't ban out Tahm Kench. When you think about the amount of single target crowd control that Mad Lions has, I think Tahm Kench is a really good pick into that. And I think the Mad Lions have put a lot of responsibility on themselves to actually get ahead in the early game. I think that when it comes to scaling, sure, Mad Lions do have some side lane options. I think it's going to be difficult for them to play on the sides. Sorry, they're going to have strong power in the side lanes, but the problem they're going to have is this Evelynn later on, because she can just show up anywhere, and it's something that's very difficult to ward for. So I like what Rogue have drafted to try and answer Mad Lions' composition. It now just largely comes down to execution, which Rogue is going to show up today.
We'll see Rogue versus Mad Lions for a chance to place G2 next week. And on to Summoner's Rift we go. And I do want to come back to that point about Inspired, because I've been looking through his Season 10 history, Vedius, and the top thing, the top champion I can see that is a carry, I'd say, is Pantheon on this list. He's played it twice. Everything else, you're looking at Sejuani, Lee, Set, Trundle.
The
Olaf is kind of there.
That would be like the carry jungler that Inspired would typically play when he was like, that was the champion you had to ban out from him, but then whenever you didn't get Olaf, you would struggle. That was very much a narrative we had for him last year. Yeah, I think this is definitely a shift in a different direction. I find it funny because, you know, we did see some new picks in the form of the Evelynn and the Lucian, and then everything else around them is like, okay, that's enough change. Let's just, let's keep some things the same. And again, it's like very traditional front to back, good scaling, but they do have a lot of agency in the mid lane, and I'm very curious as to what Larssen will do with it. He may just neutralize it. He may just apply so much pressure in the early game against Humanoid to prevent him from looking for these roams. He could also try to roam himself. Notice that he is running the cleanse, so he won't be able to match, given that he has no teleport. And for the early laning phase Humanoid, he's going to be forced to play defensive because Lucian, for those that don't know, is very oppressive into most mid lane matchups. And we'll see how Humanoid fares.
It's going to be an interesting one, to be sure. Larssen, of course, struggled so much last week to really have an influence on the game. In fact, we actually have some of his numbers here. You can see in the regular season, he was probably statistically the best mid laner in the league. High KDA, ahead in CSD, high damage percent. But then in playoffs, Fnatic was so good at locking him out of the game, partly because Nemesis was on the Lucian pick into his Azir, but partly also because Fnatic were just very good at making sure that Larssen was on an island, that no one was really ever able to influence his lane.
Yeah, for sure. I think that Larssen, he didn't really show the same level of performance that he did during the regular season and playoffs, and I think that he is one of the players that I definitely want to say step up. You know, I'm very excited, and I hope that Rogue get to play TSM at Worlds. Obviously, it has been a bit of a meme, but I think that Larssen and Bjergsen have a lot of similarities in terms of their progression, their play style, and I thought that Larssen as a player has showcased a very deep champion pool in the past. I think that he showcased that he can carry, and while this split he hasn't shown that same level of depth, I think that matchup could be very interesting. So I want to see a strong performance from him today, and from Rogue as well, with Worlds so very close. Hook does land from Kaiser. Looks like that's not going to result in a huge event.
The last embrace coming out from Summer stops Kaiser really following up, and you can just see the constant trading here in the bottom lane. Carzzy and Kaiser currently have the push as expected. Ashe very good at pushing in lanes, and Senna not that great at pushing them out herself because of those slower than normal auto attacks and a lack of real wave clear. So for the moment, you expect Mad to be behind this. The hook's going to land, but you talked about it in draft, Vedius. The Tahm Kench just gobbles up Summer, and there's nothing that Mad can really do.
Well, Carzzy and Kaiser do have push in the 2 versus 2 though. We'll see what Shadow looks to try and do with that. Notice that Larssen also went for a very early recall after pushing in the wave. He's likely not going to lose a huge amount of that, but this also gives a window for Shadow to invade. He's going to get a bit of information on what Inspired is up to. For the time being, it looks like there's not going to be too much there. This will just give him the opportunity to take that bot river scuttle crab.
Yeah, so actually might be looking towards the mid lane here. Of course, looks like he's got a ward, so he can just jump across if Larssen oversteps. Humanoid does have the teleport, currently only sitting at the inhibitor turret. Shadow's going to start up the Razor Beaks. Inspired coming around the corner. Didn't realize that Shadow was on them. Is going to dive straight onto him, and this Lee Sin's going to have to ward jump away, but Inspired is still on the chase and has the flash. Shadow flashes the wall. Inspired flashes to follow. The Whiplash hits, but Shadow dives to the Grump, and the Ardent Blaze will secure first blood to Larssen.
And Shadow, he got a bit greedy here. He thought he could steal these away, and now Orome is struggling in the top lane.
Oh, if that Brittle had connected, Finn would have just clapped him down for the kill, but Orome will use the flash to get away.
So Rogue already having a solid performance in the early game and a big punish onto Shadow. Notice here, crucially, Shadow is just lying in wait to actually steal away the Raptors, but Inspired's timing is perfect. He lines everything up, he arrives just as these Raptors respawn, and now Shadow doesn't have any abilities to actually skirmish against this Evelynn in the early game. You're seeing the Q buffs come through here for the Eve, and while Shadow just barely thinks he's going to get out, Larssen is already roaming down, flashes, lands the W, and oh look, Lucian now has a blue buff at level 4.
Cool guys don't look at explosions as Larssen looks the other way, and already he's up to the top lane. And VeDi, you asked it just 2 minutes ago. What can Larssen do with the lane priority? What can he do early on to get around this map? Well, so far he's been able to get 2 kills.
And look, now Shadow is losing his early camps. Let's see if we have any more action in the bot lane. The ultimate comes through.
Humanoid, that was actually the teleport coming out there, but the curse of the Black Isles is too strong.
Wow.
Too strong.
So Mad tried to respond. As you correctly identified there, Medic, it was the teleport coming out from Humanoid, trying to take advantage of the fact that Larssen roamed up towards topside, but this bot lane's difficult to gank. Yep. Like, not only is there the Curse of the Black Mist, again, as you highlighted, Medic, but also the Tahm Kench Consume. It is the Consume, right? That's what it's called. I always confuse it with Consume or Gobble Up.
It's Consume, or is it Devour?
Devour.
Consume is Cho'Gath. Oh no, that's Feast. Consume is Nunu-Q.
Oh, this is why I have play-by-plays, ladies and gentlemen. To me, they're all just Q, W, E, and R. Yeah, so VandeR uses W there to protect Summer should he be in any danger, and that makes it so difficult for Mad to actually find these picks. So early advantages immediately going in favor of Rogue. I like the initial punish, and then transition into taking that pressure up towards top. Larssen now sits 2-0-0.
What an early game it's been for Rogue so far. 1,300 gold ahead. A fed Lucian, Mad Lions trying to get something back for themselves. It looks like the reset has just come out from Larssen and Summer and VandeR. They've only just got back into the lane, so this should be a pretty easy Cloud Drake for Mad. Will be at least a little bit of recompense for a struggling early game.
Yeah. It's kind of like the small light at the end of the dark tunnel right now. And the fact that Finn is already winning his 1v1 matchup in the top lane against Orome is definitely a much better performance compared to what we saw from him last week. I think he was definitely the player that received the most criticism, and he might even look to dive this.
Ball of the Forge God coming out. Orome is going to use the hookshot wall dive, still gets hit with it. Finn, that would be a long way to chase.
But it's worth. Do you know what I mean? You zone Orome away from all these minions. I think that was 2 waves that was lost, and Finn is going to be able to push in another wave, right? He could even set up a slow push freeze if you want. No, he's just going to go for the push. He knows that Orome doesn't have the TP, and I think this is also fine because now the wave is going to crash, it's going to bounce back, and Orome is going to lose the cannon. Finn's going to get a free recall. Everything going so well for Rogue in this early game.
I mean, there's a reason they were the best team in the regular season. They are having a cracking start to this game, and I will give credit to Finn. Early on, I said that I didn't think he would have that much influence, but he's doing a lot of work. So the Cullen comes out. Evelynn. Trying to get around as Shadow dives away, but Inspired already level 6, has that last caress, and Shadow tries to get onto the Crux to get away. Inspired still on the chase. Last caress, he dives back with it, and Shadow dies to the hate spikes. It can do everything. You go in, you go out, you protect, and you attack. As Inspired gets a kill.
That was clever from Inspired. I thought that he had missed his ultimate there, but he just used it to close the gap. Clever utilization, and I honestly thought that he would go for the dive into mid lane as well, but his intention was to try and put Shadow behind. 2-level difference now between the junglers, and you know what, Medic? I laughed a little bit. You know, the changes that we saw from Rogue was, oh, we're seeing a slightly different mid lane pick, slightly different jungle, but everything else seems to stay the same for Rogue. Well, those 2 changes are coming up massive in Game 1 against Mad Lions.
They really are. You can see just a very strong performance so far from Rogue. Level advantage for Larssen in the mid lane. Inspired actually 2 levels ahead of Shadow right now. Almost, well, a level and a half if you subtract the little bit of XP that Shadow is about to gain. But it's just so difficult for Mad. They have so few opportunities. They're 2,000 gold behind at the 8.5-minute mark, and they are struggling. Destiny's going to be popped here in the top lane. Finn dives underneath the turret. Orome decides he wants to go in and will get the kill. The heal comes out. Orome just about survives.
Okay, if it wasn't for that heal, that could have ended in disaster. I think this was a much needed play for Mad. I like the setup, I like the execution, and Mad finally do get a kill back on the board. Larssen, though, going to push in that wave, look for Orome, but I think he's going to act as interference to stop this Rift Herald going over to Mad.
I'm just not sure if you can do this as Mad, right? Humanoid has the flash, is up here. Inspired's on his way as well. Doesn't have the last caress right now. Shadow's in the back of the Rift Herald arena. And the dive comes in from Larssen. Light Slinger used to get a couple of autos in. Shadow's going to hit it with the Sonic Wave. Here comes the arrow. That goes wide. Unfortunately, doesn't hit Shelly. She's arrow immune as Humanoid eats up a culling. Cycles through to the gold card. Shadow diving in. Hits a kick onto Inspired, but Inspired's going to chase him down with the 8 spikes. Dawning Shadow coming out as Shadow gets just about onto the Lantern in time. And Inspired gets the Herald.
And Mad, they tried to swap their bot lane up towards the Rift Herald, but it was a little too late. VandeR was already there beforehand, and both Shadow and Humanoid just got forced off. Rogue utilizing this early advantage that they've been able to accrue, and they're keeping the snowball going.
I actually love this. We talked about opening up Inspired, opening up Larssen, so getting him around the map, putting the Rift Herald down here just gets that turret down quicker. It means the Lucian can get away.
But it also stops Humanoid from freely roaming around the map. He's been able to make 2 plays so far. He TP'd to bot lane once. He also used his ultimate to top lane once. And so far, Mad have only been able to get 1 kill. You can see the difference in the gold. 800 in favor of Larssen right now. 400 in favor of the top. 1.5k between the 2 junglers. And like that early play from Shadow, you know, it's pretty crazy how a single mistake can balloon into such a massive advantage. And, you know, this is what happens in pro play. You know, solo queue, you make that misstep, like, sure, you can probably bounce back from that, but Inspired knows exactly what to do. Larssen knows how to capitalize with the pressure, and they've just been doing everything in their power to put Shadow's Lee Sin behind.
It also makes you wonder about, you know, future games in this series. Of course, a best of 5. We've seen Mad Lions fight back in series like this before. We saw them fight against G2 last split, you know, where they went all the way to 5 games. So you wonder, do Mad have to adapt their draft? Do you get rid of things like the Evelynn? Because we said it in draft, Inspired is not known for playing these carries. Like, Olaf is the only carry we really know him on. Otherwise, he's on Sejuani duty. He's on Set duty. He's on Lee Sin duty, Jarvan duty. He's the guy that helps Finn engage. He is not the guy that hard carries the game.
Well, this game, he's having a stellar performance alongside Larssen. Both of them very fed, very strong. Both level 9, by the way. I think Inspired is the 2nd, 3rd highest level in the game. Just only matching Humanoid. But we're going to bring the XP. Yeah, you can see 3rd highest level in the game right now with Finn close behind them. And Inspired, once again, looking for another play. We've been seeing this a lot from Evelynn, just rushing the death cap. You know that he can just execute him.
Dives in, Human's going to flash away, the stun card lands, and Inspired needs to use his ultimate to get away, but Larssen chases down the kill. Orome is trying to collapse, as meanwhile in the top lane there was a little bit of a dive, but VoD have been able to survive. Orome now getting towards this mid lane tower as it falls. Inspired's going to try and put the charm down. Orome does still have flash, hookshot wall dive, doesn't flash towards it. Larssen trying to dodge away, but he's hit with the sweep, and the shutdown goes to Camille.
Much needed shutdown for Mad there to try and alleviate the pressure. Shadow with the kick.
Another well-timed play in the top lane. Summer away from his Tahm Kench, away from the belly of the beast, and Mad Lion's able to get the kill.
All right, so Mad Lion's answering back now. They're able to get a couple of picks. They'll likely get a couple more plates up and towards the top side of the map. The fact that Orome was able to get that shutdown is very valuable for him as well. Finn actually setting up a bit of a flank here. He knows that Evelynn is on the Drake.
Orome does still have flash here, so should just be able to hookshot away. Manages to escape. As you say, the dragon does go down to Rogue. Delays any soul point possibility for the Mad Lions, because of course they were the first getting that Cloud Drake earlier on.
Okay, so we've had a pretty action-packed early game already. I like what we're seeing from both teams. Of course, Shadow put at that early deficit, but still able to find a pick here or there. And I think already we can safely say that Rogue has definitely stepped up coming into this series. Again, a lot of question marks surrounding Rogue and their level of performances. While they did lose to Fnatic, and I think that it's fair to say, based on yesterday's results, that Fnatic is obviously a very strong team. I think individually we saw poor performances. Summer and VandeR dying 2 versus 2 in lane, Finn getting solo killed, Larssen not having the same impact, Inspired being invisible, but this time around his invisibility is working off in Rogue's favor, and they're able to get a huge number of advantages. So they're stepping up. We now need to see how Mad respond in kind. They're not the kind of team to just roll over and die. They're very proactive in the early game. They will fight you, and they will claw back deficits just through sheer aggression and looking for plays and picks. We can already see Twisted Fate going to bring up the minimap for you. Notice where he's hovering right now, looking for a potential opportunity with Shadow waiting in the wings, seeing if anyone oversteps, seeing if that Senna does get a little too far up in the lane so that they can punish, because with the mid lane down, it's too dangerous from Humanoid to just push up and wave clear as he was before, because that Evelynn could show up at any time.
And we've already seen Summer get caught out by himself in this top lane, and Mad are setting up for it once again. As you say, Shadow is just around the corner. Let's have a look at where we are in terms of items. Inspired on his way to the death cap, has double needlessly large rod. The Mana Mune stacking up on Larssen and Summer, so give them, 5-10 more minutes. Those two champs, that Lucian and that Senna, will be incredibly strong. As you say, they just hit 11, which is second level ultimate, second level culling, second level last caress, and Orome, well, he'd be hoping to get to 11 himself, as Inspired is waiting just around the wings for a gank here. Orome does still have the flash, sitting on Tiamat, Phage, and Sheen. The charm looking to connect. The hookshot wall dive comes out. There's the charm, there's the chase. There is a very dead Camille as Finn dives in and secures his first kill of the game.
Finn had to commit his flash to help secure that one, but you know what? That's still worth. Keeping Orome down, one of those side lane threats that Mad Lions ideally want to play through, is definitely going to help Rogue as they transition from the mid game, or into the mid game rather. Now Mad, once again, looking for a cross-map play. They have the Twisted Fate ultimate, the Ashe arrow comes through.
Only onto the Tahm Kench, but a good flash kick from Shadow will get a chase off, but the Devour is just too quick. Summer able to survive, and Larssen's looking for a flank position here as the tower still stands. The culling coming out, Humanoid dodging back into the bush, but he's not going to be able to survive. He might take Summer. The shield from the Dawning Shadow. Summer keeps himself just about alive.
Well played there once again for Rogue, and you're seeing how obnoxious this Tahm Kench pick is. We talked a lot about it in draft. There's so much single target CC that Rogue were able to just get out of that, and now they're looking for another fight.
Box goes down, Sonic Wave misses from Shadow as he looks just to help disengage for Kaiser and Carzzy. We'll note Carzzy has a 20 CS lead now on this Ashe. Play with the Ruin King complete. Ashe, of course, so good at pushing in the lanes. We mentioned it when they were down in the bottom lane. Has just continued to do that in the top lane. And Rogue have been playing more around trying to catch out Orome, it feels, than around their bot lane. They've been trying to keep this Camille down, keep her shut down, and it has been working. She's about 30, 40 CS down, picked up a couple of kills, but yet to complete that first item. You can actually see only Shadow and the supports have less gold than Orome does right now.
Yeah, I think that Rogue have done a great job of putting the two carries that Mad ideally wanted to get advantage on in the early game behind. Keeping Humanoid down, attacking his mid lane early. Inspired now. I think he's found another pick.
For Orome, hookshot wall dive will get him out. Larssen waiting on the culling. Doesn't quite have it up yet. Could dive under the tower. Goes for it. The piercing light into Ardent Blaze is not quite enough.
I don't think his Q was just in range, so he couldn't quite get that execute, but it doesn't matter. Rogue gonna secure another tower. And what I really want to highlight this game is how Larssen is moving around the map. Notice that whenever Rogue are playing for a tower, Larsen's always in a position and working with Inspired to make sure that people get zoned away from the objectives so that they lose a lot of farm, and the objective goes easily in the favor of Rogue. And again, I want to draw your attention to the minimap. Notice how in the bot lane, this wave has been pushed up all the way to the tower, and the same is being done in the mid. The reason why they do this so much is to give them time to reset as Shadow looks for a play.
Yeah, he dived in. The heal was used immediately from Rogue, and Larssen, well, it's named the culling for a reason as he takes down the Lee Sin.
Yeah, so... yeah.
It was a greedy point.
Well, Shadow wanted to try and find a pick while Rogue were on the reset because he recognized that, okay, Finn is probably looking to base right now. Evelynn's probably just looked to base as well. But you can see that Senna and Lucian are here. Let's see if we can just burst out Hansama, only level 9, but lo and behold, the Lucian's level 12. Has more than enough damage to be able to turn that one around, and Rogue walk away with another kill and the second Drake of the game.
And a 5,000 gold lead, Vedius. Like, it's quietly continued to sneak up here. Larssen has about a 2k lead over his opposing mid lane, over Humanoid. That's the name.
Oh, so initially he just wants to interrupt, and then he's like, I can make this play happen.
Follow the Q.
But he doesn't
do anything, yeah.
Well, wait, did he not have a ward? Because he didn't ward jump or anything. He literally just queued in and then died.
So, sometimes Shadow is someone to be feared. And sometimes he does things like that and he's not.
I mean, I would actually say that's extremely uncharacteristic of Shadow. Oh, yeah, okay. So he had the Rift Tail. That's why he didn't have a ward to jump to. I wonder if he recognized that.
I wonder if he just made the mistake of diving in.
I don't know. Either way, like, uncharacteristic of Shadow. Yeah. Now, I will say that Shadow had a poor game 1 on Friday with his set. Now, that was kind of, you know, his... Oh, hang on, one sec.
First hit spike.
This execution. Yeah, okay, so back to what I was saying. This is quite an uncharacteristic performance from Shadow. And some might say this is uncharacteristic from Inspired as Mad picks up another fight.
Call of Fortune got going down. Orome locked up in place, knocked up. There's the Dawning Shadow. The shot connects and Finn gets the kill onto Orome. Larssen now on his way. Shadow goes down. It's a double for Finn. Carzzy flashes away, uses the heal as well. Just a couple of auto attacks would be enough, but they can't quite get onto Carzzy as he pops out the volley. The hook comes out. VandeR, flash, tongue lash as Carzzy trying to escape underneath his tower, but cannot get away.
That was a 3 versus 4 fight that Rogue actually won, and then the cleanup just came through from Larssen. The gold advantage is massive for Rogue right now. I feel like it is going to be very difficult for Mad to find their way back in, and this has just been non-stop, relentless aggression. And we kind of have to go back to what we originally talked about. What will Rogue look like against Mad? Because the sentiment around them was, they shouldn't be going to Worlds. They do not deserve a spot. The quality of their gameplay was poor. I think that coming into Game 1, they've definitely showcased what they're capable of and why so many of these players were put in the second All-Pro team at the end of the regular season.
Yeah, I think it just makes... I mean, if I'm G2, I'm actually watching this and being a little bit scared. I'll be honest. Like, this is pretty strong stuff from Rogue so far. We'll see how they continue for the rest of the series as Larssen is caught out, but he dodges away. He's still able to survive here on the Lucian, and they get one. Finn takes it down. He's looking for more in a 2v1. The Call of the Forge God not quite available, but Hansama is on the chase with the Yumus. Carzzy trying to back away. The volley comes out. The last embrace doesn't quite connect, but the slows are there, and Hansama continues to chase the hook. Only lands onto VandeR. Humanoid gets underneath the turret, but it's being tanked up by Finn, and Hansama just goes in. Auto after auto after auto. Humanoid with the stopwatch to keep himself alive. There's the arrow, hits Hansama. VandeR takes the kill.
Here comes Inspired.
And here comes Inspired, and there goes Carzzy. Kaiser down for the double kill. Inspired 4-0-3 now on this Evelynn.
And so earlier I said this is an uncharacteristic performance from Inspired, and that's because we don't typically see him on the carry junglers, but he looks like a natural. Of course, he was gifted that early advantage by Shadow, but he took advantage of it beautifully. Now level 14 on the Evelynn, the second highest level in the game. Rogue have just dominated here in Game 1.
It's actually just, it's a little dirty right now. Should take it to the laundromat, clean it up for the next game, hopefully, as Mad Lions have to clean up quite a few bits of their play. Baron secured by Rogue, 21 minutes in. They have a 9,000 gold lead, and Shadow did what he could with the Rift Herald, charged in a couple of turrets, got a couple of towers in the bottom lane, but Larssen's now on the chase, and Shadow does have flash. How many wards has he got?
They know where he is, though, and look, he's going to get interrupted, isn't he? Yeah.
Where he interrupted himself.
Yep.
Here comes the Tahm Kench. Shadow, how'd you get out of this one? Well, good Dragon's Rage kick will knock Larssen back. VandeR still on the chase.
Has the stone plate.
Has the stone plate, has the tongue lash. Shadow has a flash and gets to the lantern. Dawning Shadow won't connect, so Shadow gets out. Had to burn his flash to do it.
Yep, he certainly does. Again, very uncharacteristic game from Shadow. And I think the craziest thing is when we saw the game versus, or series versus Schalke rather, he lost on set, he immediately went to his Lee Sin, and he had like a stellar Lee Sin performance. Yep. And it was like, it was a huge confidence game for Shadow, because like, okay, you struggled in game 1, but you immediately bounce back in game 2, and then you ride that momentum throughout the rest of the series. Game 1, he's already brought out his comfort pick, and he's just been shut down. And admittedly, a lot of these players have been through his own mistakes, his over-aggression. Yeah. But here's hoping that this doesn't just break him for the series. We'll see as the ultimate from Twisted Fate comes through.
Destiny comes down, as you say. Humanoid with the gold card locked in, was looking for the chase, but can't quite get there. We have just seen the first item of the game for Orome. He's finished his Trinity Force now on the Camille. But he's an item and a half behind the Ornn. He's an item and a half behind the Evelynn and behind the Lucian. Like, when we were in draft and you talked about the power of Mad Lions in the side lanes, they've never had the chance to put anyone in the side.
They had to get ahead early, right? That was the whole game plan. One of my concerns was, how are they going to get ahead? What lanes do they attack exactly when you have an Ornn in the top side of the map, when you have the Tahm Kench Senna in the bot? They just haven't been able to do it, and Rogue, meanwhile, they've been utilizing their early pressure well. They've been finding good fights. They're currently 15 kills to 4. Mad have tried to find picks, but look, Finn just doesn't take any damage.
Engaging onto a guy with an Infernal Mask and Sunfire Cape? Sunforge Cape? I can't remember. Forge Fire Cape. That's what the name of the upgrade one is. He's almost got his locket next so he can get the Circlet of the Iron Solari. Just not going to do damage to an Ornn right now as they look for the second tower in the mid lane. Inhibitor in the bottom lane has already fallen. The Shadow hits a Sonic Wave, but only onto VandeR. See the engage coming in as the Call of the Ford God lands. There's the last caress as well, and Carzzy's being chased down. Last Embrace will lock him in place, and there's another 2 kills for Larssen. The inhibitor on the menu. There's a cannon minion there for Rogue to escort to the base. Shadow trying to do some fancy footwork, trying to keep the cannon minion aggroed onto him, but there's only so much you can do. Currently getting chased out by the Tahm Kench. Looking to make a meal of this as Inspired continues to chase him away. 4-level advantage on Inspired over his lane opponent, and right now this has been an absolute demolition from Rogue. First in the regular season and making a statement as to why they deserve to fight for first in the playoffs here as they destroy Mad Lions in game 1.
Whew. Statement game from Rogue to start off this series. I think that they showcased a bit of variety, a bit of the same stuff, but ultimately they demonstrated a much stronger performance than what they showcased before. Much cleaner League of Legends, and definitely what we expected more of from Rogue coming into the regular season. Of course, this is a long series. You can see that smile still on the faces of Shadow. He probably recognizes that was definitely not a great game from him. But again, I expect Shadow to bounce back. These young rookies, they're very hungry, they're very eager. They have a lot of confidence too, so I imagine we're going to see some big shifts in the draft. The one thing you can say for sure is Mad have very deep champion pools, and we're going to see some shakeups coming into game 2.
We definitely are. It was a mixture of happiness and kind of head in your hands, though. I do wonder if Shadow might be a little bit more frustrated with himself than he was letting on in that game, but we'll find out, because after the break, the Analyst is going to tell you more about game 1 as Rogue secured a dominant win.
Up. Hello, everybody. Let the game begin.
You don't have a chance against me. I can calculate 90 trillion moves in advance. Not fair. Not fair.
Red Bull gives you wings.
Just like a razor, murked up in this world, my blazer. I got all the boys on me, I got all the lines on ring. Knocking dead, turning heads, I got all the eyes on me. Pretty face, 걸어 들어와, 유행선두차. 원하지만 못 찾아나, 애가 찾아나. You like whoa, 갈리 유도 go. 난 알지, I know. 준비해, cause I like the ball. 멈추지 않아, 나는 내 그게 like a bag. 그거 말고 bye, 믿어봐, 그만큼 크게. 어깨 펴고 high, 100% 덤비지 못해. 죽여주잖아 나는 boss 간지 with the sauce 원하면 줄게 I'm doing damage when just how I planned it I do what I want when I say 모두 날 따라해 난 끝내주잖아 To live on the edge of insane Coming at you like real, real world Here to light it up, set the world on fire Gonna break rules and hearts and tools Cause that's what the baddies do I never gonna back, nah, nah, that Diamonds on drip cause I came to make a splash Gonna break rules and hearts and tools Cause that's what the baddies do It's crazy Sorry for the bad news, sorry I'm so bad Only took a minute for me to get what you had Sorry for the bad news, no it makes it sad Live for a minute, baby, you should pack your bags Way that I look should be breaking the law If I don't got it, I take what I want My circle small like a round of applause You know that I love the sound of applause You know I mean everything that I say When you see me come and get out of the way Back in this lane, back and I'm better and ready to stay I'm doing damage when just how I planned it I do what I want when I say 모두 날 따라해 난 끝내주잖아 To live on the edge of insane It's crazy Sorry for being the best 언제든지 내가 the next Look at the gold, all on my chest Look at the gold, call it a flex
Welcome back to the Analyst Desk. Rogue looked like a brand new team in Game 1. The team that finished first
in the summer season, and they completely destroyed the Mad Lions. As with every game, we start with picks and bans. So let's take a look at the draft order. And Caedrel, I want to jump straight to you because you predicted Rogue to win this series. Tell me what you think of the draft, and then Mad's response.
Well, I like their adaptation. They played against Fnatic. They did the exact same thing. Okay, we're going to copy your homework, but not make it too obvious, right? So they just take the exact same draft almost with the Lucian and the Evelynn. I think it works. I mean, Inspired is one of the best Evelynns in the EU. I think the Lucian first pick kind of gives away their plan for the rest of the series, unless they can play something like the Tristana mid, which I think if Mad Lions try to adapt and ban it out, it could come out. But I think the draft overall was good. The only thing I was a bit unsure on was the Graves ban, because obviously Shadow's going to pick Lee Sin. He's not played Graves the whole year, so...
Not that Lee Sin mattered.
Yeah, true.
What do you think of the draft?
I really liked it. I wasn't against anything either of the teams were doing, honestly. Perhaps, in hindsight, the only thing I would change is not picking Camille on 3, because then you have to ban the Shen and the Jax, right? Especially when you have TF. So perhaps you just, pick a different either jungle or support, or just a different champ altogether, and then you spend a ban on the Tahm Kench. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, I think it looks like a comfort comp for Mad Lions. They ran the Camille Galio last week. They're trying the TF Camille this time instead of round. They've got the Ashe, they've got the Lee Sin. It's pure comfort for Mad Lions. So it's a bit worrying that in game 1 they lose with their most comfortable champs, but I like that Rogue has the Evelynn. I like that they put Finn on Ornn. And actually Finn, he got Orome's flash level 5. This is the opposite of thing was happening against Fnatic.
Yes, absolutely the case. And I think definitely in terms of player matchup, maybe you expected. How important was the start? It was catastrophic for Mad Lions. We've got a replay that I want to pull up, and Caedrel, talk me through this, because was this single play the reason that Rogue won the game, or am I being too strong?
Well, Shadow's greeting for the second Raptor spawn, and Inspired shows up. So Shadow kind of overextended. He has no mid prio, his TF's in base, he has hardly any bot prio, he flashes out and he dies. And I think this just creates a huge domino effect for Rogue. Larssen gets first blood, he gets blue buff, he runs to mid, and Orome just had to flash away from Finn's Ornn. So Finn probably says, oh, top has no flash, the wave's really bad. So this whole snowball effect comes in. Larssen pushes out mid, he runs top, he kills Orome, and this is all because he gets first blood, he gets a blue buff, he can shove the wave in first, he doesn't have to be scared of Shadow on the map, and yeah, 2-0 Lucian in the span of 1 minute.
Jesiz, I'm going to ask the same question. Whenever I have pro players and I speak to them and you see a play like that, it's just GG, go next. Game's over, it's impossible to come back. Is that fair, or am I being overly dramatic?
Well, I feel like from Mad Lions' perspective, with their champions, it is kind of over, at least if they don't get to find picks, because it was a very early mid-game type of comp. Like, they do need to get early leads, they do need to find picks, they do need to get early dragons, perhaps even Herald, to accelerate the game. So the moment that the game kind of ends up this way, and you are not kind of just playing through your strength, which is, playing through mid as 2v2 and just not respecting the early game from what they called Rogue.
From Rogue, yeah. And of course, the graphic that's come up, it was something that I requested just to highlight during the Fnatic series what the goal difference was, what the kills of 15 were, deaths, etc. And this is one game. It's a one-game sample size, right? But Rogue's improvement in the early game, their ability to execute, I love what Caedrel said, copying Fnatic's homework.
Yeah.
But then once you copy their homework, you still have to execute, right?
Yeah.
You can see the draft, and they did that flawlessly.
I think they executed flawlessly, like you said. It's all down to Mad Lions now. Do we adapt? Do we force Rogue onto their comfort? How can we ban them out? Trying to figure out a draft plan for the next game, because I assume Mad Lions is going to go to blue side. It's going to give them some target bans to shut down this Rogue comp, but I mean, Rogue looks so comfortable on this. Inspired's a really good Evelynn. Larssen seems to not be able, he's like drifting away from the mages, so they're changing things up.
Before I get Jesiz to answer that question, because you predicted a Mad Lions victory, one of the things you did talk about was Inspired the jungle playing a carry, not being on those dog champions. We've got a tower dive replay that I want you to talk me through.
Yeah.
What do you think when you see Larssen and Inspired double teaming and seeing how well they executed this play?
Well, it just tells me that they should put Inspired on carries more. He's super proactive and he knows what he wants to do. And I feel like that benefits Larssen so much. I think one of the main reasons why he was such a, seen as such a rock for the team was because Inspired was playing a lot of these dog champions and he was giving a lot of these camps to Larssen, and he probably felt the pressure of the responsibility. But now with Inspired playing carries and kind of leading the charge a little bit, it makes Larssen play more aggressive.
Now you have to answer the question. Will Mad Lions be able to bounce back? They've picked blue side. You see the stomp that just happened. Are you nervous at all?
I don't know, a little bit nervous maybe. But to answer Caedrel's point about, Mad Lions Rogue just actually being able to execute this, copy of Fnatic. I don't know if it's really them being able to execute. I feel like it's rather just Mad Lions
Allowing it to happen?
Really trolling, because obviously Lucian just completely trolling at enemy Raptors. And then also just Lucian, they know he's going to get prio and he's going to be moving into the top side. And Camille is just
shouldn't be
hard
there.
trading
Shouldn't
super
be
close to the tower.
position.
And also he has the TP from his mid laner as well, who can follow. So he just has to play a little bit slower. Has to wait for his Lucian to come closer.
Closing thoughts, Caedrel.
Yeah, and Mad Lions need to shut out this comp from Rogue. They're trying to do the Fnatic. I think they adapted well when they faced him. They banned out the Evelynn, forced him onto the Karthus. So, I mean, there's Evelynn, there's Lilia, there's Karthus, there's Hecarim. So it all depends on what Rogue want to default back to, but I think Evelynn should be taken out.
Okay, Evelynn should be taken. Let's find out if this is going to happen in Game 2. Rogue started with a very different look. What kind of answers will Mad Lions have for us in Game 2? You'll find out straight off the other side of the break. That was great. Thank you. That was awesome.